Let's introduce the key components of the ITIL 4 framework, comprising of the 4 dimensions of service management and the service value system. The 4 dimensions of service management represent the 4 critical elements that make up products and services. The products and services which an organisation provide do not stand alone. In other words, they do not stand on fresh air. Such products and services come about through a balanced interaction of an organisation's resources, and organisations own or have access to a variety of resources, including organisations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, and value streams and processes. Products are configurations of these resources created to provide potential value for customers. Now, the 4 dimensions of service management, or sometimes referred to as the 4-dimension model, represent internal resources, or we could refer to these as what we deem as a provider's operational excellence. However, what we see on the outside of the 4 dimensions of service management is what we refer to as an acronym PESTLE. This refers to those political factors, economical factors, social factors, technological factors, legal factors, and environmental factors. These represent those external factors that, whilst can create opportunities in demand, can also pose threats to our resources. For example, political change can either create an opportunity or can become a threat. When we look at the environmental factor, for example, COVID-19 impacted almost every organisation. If we consider the legal factor, as an example, GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, impacts our resources in such a way that determines how we now design for and manage the handling and processing of people's personal information. Okay, the service value system represents how the various components and activities of the organisation work together to facilitate value creation through IT-enabled services. The purpose of the service value system is to realise value. These components comprise of the guiding principles, governance, the service value chain, practices, and continual improvement. The guiding principles help an organisation to make good decisions in all circumstances, regardless of changes in its strategic goals and objectives. Every system needs a governing body based on strategic direction. The service value chain, which is the operating model of the service value system, actually transforms inputs into outputs, which are the products and services. Practices are the resources for practitioners to perform work in the service value chain, and every system has to ensure continual alignment with the needs of the business, hence continual improvement. When we consider the 4 dimensions of service management in relation to the service value system, in crude simple terms, we could take a view something like this. We first need the resources, the 4 dimensions of service management, in order to have a system, the service value system. Of course, without the resources, there is no system, and it is the service value system, more so the operating model, the service value chain, which create products and services, which are indeed the outputs that facilitate outcomes, the results, which stakeholders want and that are valuable for stakeholders. The reason why we have other components in addition to the operating model, which also make up the system, we could refer to the human body, because the human body is also a system made up of a number of components. So whilst the operating model of the service value system appears to compare with the legs of the human body, for example, which moves the human body from A to B, the human body needs other components to help to achieve this, such as the brain, the heart and the lungs, etc. So in the case of the ITIL service value system, in addition to the operating model, the service value chain, we need the guiding principles, governance, practices and continual improvement. I hope this makes sense.